Hello, it's Paul from Education 633. Today's blog is going to be on best practices and how they are congruent. Best practices in online education and how those best practices are congruent with my personal learning theory. So I broke down my personal learning theory into 3 Ds: diligence, diversity, and doing for others. By diligence, what I mean is to consider my higher calling, to be diligent that no matter what the trends are or best practices are, I still always have to measure them up with how does that fit in with me being a good example for Christ. For diversity, what that means is without having to look into best practices and not look into diversity, without those two, it is really not even to be considered because with best practices, we always need to consider not what's popular, but how are we contributing our education uh, gifts to um, diverse populations? How does that work with closing the gap to those who are having more access to a good education with those who don't have as good of an access to a good education? Um, Research on personal things like that are important to me. To do for others simply comes down to the golden rule. How I mean is that in education, how I would treat students, or how I would want to teach students, and then what I feel that what's important, what their priorities are in education, and how do I um, make sure that what I would have done for me in the area of education, am I giving that to them? Particularly in my role as allied health educator. I think that is very important. Um, it's what I plan to do, and I'm hoping to be effective in that area. So to me, those are very important things, and they have a lot to do with my personal learning theory. I found 3 articles that I felt were very in, insightful to help out with my um, finding good research. So what I would like to point out here is in Hirsh et al. 2015, they did a study out of San Jose State University on findings that they were based on the International Federation of Library Sciences. Good source for information that is used quite a bit. They're considered the global voice of library and information profession. What they found, the faculty and they use and put into practices at San Jose State University were these key initiatives that they put into practice that they found to be based on their research out of INFLA. Key initiatives presented were, they included virtual abroad global projects, globalization of LIS curriculum, international LIS internships, international project-based learning, faculty, professional development, and international collaborations. Pretty much what those all do address the 5 greater needs, the greater needs as found by INFLA, um, that they put into practice. The trends that IFLA have found were 5 important trends that are very important for us in education to realize in the way information is going. Uh, Access to information with new technologies, online education for global learning, hyper-connected communities, and the global information environment. So looking at those, um, what are the important trends? How are they going to affect us in the arena of education? Um, what some model colleges and universities are doing with that information, such as at San Jose College. Schnetter et al. In 2014 find an effective interactive online course delivering uses the Sloan Consortium, which is now Online Learning Consortium, and the 5 pillars of online education as provided by Online Learning Consortium. What they found for nursing, particularly, which I chose this as information because in my particular field, allied health, it's difficult to find good, solid research in the way of allied health, particularly in respiratory therapy. Most studies are done in that area. There's more research behind the trends. So what they find in nursing can be applied to and adapted to respiratory therapy, other allied health areas. But what they found, which was most important, was developing high quality pedagogies. Teachers can do things such as gaming, um, debriefing following experiences in scenarios that are created. It's a very important practice to before a student goes and puts their practice onto patient care, that they do practice in scenarios. So engaging students in that way is a very important in part. But gaming I felt was pretty interesting because I never really thought of that in healthcare education. But it's gaming is coming a long way, and there's a lot of good research behind that for good student experiences. Wladis, Conway, and Hachey in 2015 did a study on how ethnicity, gender, and non-traditional student characteristics relate to different online versus face-to-face outcomes in STEM courses. Um, what they found was that there was no significant interaction between online medium and ethnicity. So it's a good plus for online. If there's an argument as to online, it puts a bigger gap in diversity, different areas, then it's really, according to this research that they found, and they used 3,600 students. I think that's quite a bit of research, but they found that there was no significant interaction between online and online medium and ethnicity. They found some suggestions, though, which might help um, for best practices to consider to closing the gap to access to good education for women and younger students. STEM courses, women and younger students in STEM courses might need extra support according to the research. But further research should go into what are the contributing factors. Are there factors such as stereotypes or children, women who are in college and raising children, and different things that could be looked into to help to close the gap in access to a equivalent education for all students. So other information might be helpful to look into, though that type of research. I think it would be very good. So we talked about a few quick things. We talked about global view and trends, and I feel is important to look at trends in the light of, to be diligent and look at them in the light of whether or not it compromises your Christian values. I think that's all important stuff that we looked into. For me personally, the online education experience with regards to allied health is looking into what's best practices. It's good to know what the best practices are, and where the challenge comes in allied health, or probably any curriculum development, is how to format, how to put that out there. We might find what works, but how do we put it together in curriculum development? That's a very important factor. So we talked about diversity and closing the gap on access to a fair education for all students. So basically what that comes down to is there's a whole lot of research out there, but there is also some good things to consider when thinking about best practices and how that affects our personal worldviews. Hope to find some more research and share that with you in the future. Thank you very much.